All right. Hopefully, I'm back on. Yep, I see the volume's working now. Uh, maybe I can get everybody back in here. Hmm. I've got it reset. Hey, Greg. All right, I'm up and going again. Maybe the green people knocked me off the air. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I got to talking about the scientists or all the other. All right, good sound now. Okay, good. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm just it's one of those things. I'm I had to sign it back on. I get to talking about the exactly. You never be surprised. You don't know if maybe I stepped on YouTube toes or something. I don't know. I, Maybe I stepped on somebody's toes talking about the Green New Deal. But whatever, whatever. I hope everybody jumps back in here, and we'll try to get this started again. Get my little Mountain Dew there, and try to rock and roll again. Yeah, South Africa is listening. Okay, great. I like to see somebody from South Africa. Uh, but as I was saying, the one thing that really bothers me is on that Green New Deal is people are letting these politicians. It's a political thing. I mean, 6 months ago, a year ago, were we hearing anything about this Green New Deal? Was it that scary 6 months ago or a year ago? No, it came about all of a sudden because it's a political thing. It's political. And politics aggravate me to death because, like I said, I'm a guy that, and I've stated to y'all guys, where I stand. I'm sort of a middle of the road guy. I've been registered as a Democrat since 1971. So I've been in there a long time. Yeah. Well, I hear you what you're talking about, Chris. The situations that we've got are not dire straight like some people would want to make it out to be. Yeah, politics make me sick too. The way the political landscape is. I mean, like I said, regardless of how I register, don't disparage me and don't look down on me because I'm just an old Democrat that's been an old Democrat for 40, 50 years here. Coming close to 50 years, I've been registered that way. Hadn't seen a reason to change my affiliation, uh, except for the fact, and what I've always been told, and the reason we did it in our state of North Carolina is in 1971, the two-party system was so weak, it was pathetic. And if you wanted to get anybody elected that was good in the primaries, you had to primarily vote Democratic because the Democratic Party was that strong back in 1971. Now it's flip flopped. It's flip flopped. It's the other way around now. It's yeah. Well, it is. I guess I'm more independent or libertarian. Not really libertarian because there's certain ways of libertarians I don't like either. I'm just an independent thinking person is what I am. And if you have to register one way or the other, that's what I chose years ago. A lot of my family were good old Southern Democrats, what we used to call them, and that was the majority party, and that's what reason you did that. Yeah, but putting politics aside, I don't vote for any. I'm not a straight line anything. I don't care if I was a Republican. I wouldn't vote for every Republican. I'm not Democrats. I'm not going to vote for every Democrat. I'm going to vote for the person. I'm going to assess what it is, and that's how I'm going to vote. on any issue. And that being said, like I said, I want to get back on this other about the Green New Deal. And that sickens me by the way these people are trying to push that down our throat. I mean, it sickens me for the fact that, if it was real, if it was that dire straight, there would be the entire world would be running all on that and trying to solve their problem and their part of the world. And that's not happening. That's not happening. I mean, the thing is, we need to keep our environment looking good. We need to make sure that everything's renewable as best we can, but we can't dramatically get rid of everything. I looked at a survey. It said if every car in just New York City, not the entire United States, just New York City, if they had to buy all new cars, electric cars, first off, it would cost something of like $54 billion to buy all new cars for New York City, because all the ones that are registered, it's like 2 million cars. Secondly, here's the stupid thing. Anybody that's been to New York City or the surrounding area knows 99% of the people don't have garages in that area. They park on the street. Well, these charging stations for all these electric cars, they require that a hardwired situation to be wired into a garage. And, if you have no garage, you're not going to run an extension cable out from your house to the street and leave a charging station out there. It won't work. And then it's going to take 8 hours to charge the car. Okay. Take that into consideration. Hey, JC. Yeah. And then if you ran charging, I mean, it would be chaos looking. It would look like JC's garage down there. That's what it would look like. Drop cords running everywhere. I'm going to point you out there, JC. But people are crazy if they think things like that are happening. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to put the infrastructure in these locations. You're not going to be able to get rid of that many cars. I mean, think about it. I mean, these politicians have no idea of what they're trying to push down our throat. But these young people like that who are so smart. I mean, I read one thing. I mean, I think it's Boston University is where that girl at AOC went. They said they ought to have their economics department taken out if that's all they can get. If that's all the graduates they can get is this idiot that can't add figures up, that gets into the billions of dollars. She tries to snow over everybody by saying it's billions of this and billions of that and tippy top. That's one of her phrases. Yeah, it's going to be at the tippy top. Hey, Montana. But look, and everybody's talking about like the taxi cabs. The taxi cabs. You think these taxi cabs can? They would have to have twice as many, and that's also been checked too. You'd have to have twice as many, if not 3 times as many, taxi cabs running in New York City alone to take care of everything if it were electric, because these electric cars, it takes them 7 to 8 hours, even if you had everything on a fast charger, I think it takes a couple hours. You would have to have every single one of them. You would have to duplicate the cars because you wouldn't have enough cars to go around to satisfy the urge of everybody having a taxi cab. So how are they going to solve that? They can't. And the other thing is everybody's talking about fossil fuels. Hey, Christopher, how are you? Everybody's talking about fossil fuels. They're talking about, they're talking about the CO2 effect. They've actually shown where see, everything's carbon based. We're a carbon based society. We have actually got the United States greener now, and even Africa is greener now because we are getting more carbon into the system. And what needs carbon? Trees. Trees are growing better in areas that they've never grown before. And it's because they need. And to give you an example, look at our plain states. Our plain states have the fewest amount of trees. Chris, I think you'll attest to this fact. You have fewer trees out there. You have fewer cars out there. You have less carbon, I guess, that gets emitted into the atmosphere naturally out there because of the lack of things, not because the too much. They're actually skewing the science around to suit them politically and monetarily. Everybody go back and do your research. Go back and look how rich Al Gore has gotten in the past 20 years. Al Gore, I was reading an article where he had to sell 600 cows, or I don't know, I can't remember the exact figure. He sold a herd of his cows to help him on one of his political campaigns because he was not that rich when he started. And what did he do? Now he has made more money off of getting preferred stock from Apple and Google and getting his political situation in there. Apple and Google wanted political favors, so what do? They sort of side with Al Gore. They put him on the board of directors on both of those, and he's made money off of it because he gets the preferred stock. He gets to buy it. He can hold it for a number of years or whatever, and then when it goes up, then he buys it at the cheap price, turns right around and sells it. He did that on Google and Apple, and they estimate he made close to $40 million on both transactions. I mean, go back and check your facts. I may have a little bit. It's in the millions. It's multi-millions, but I think one of them said 40 million. Then he gets into this film thing about this environmental, what is it called? I can't even remember the name of the film, but he did the film. He's gotten rich off that. Then he goes around and talks about that film and gets $175,000 per talk. So it's crazy. It's crazy. And the reason I say this is because I'm fed up with a lot of this stuff going on because I'm in the trucking business. I cannot revamp my entire trucking, situation within 10 years. I mean, it's a monumental thing. I have a lot of trucks. And, I like to see things modified. I mean, if things are more efficient, I'm all for more efficiency. We work on that every day. We work on trying to make sure that our trucks are efficient. We make sure that everything's maintained really good. We work on that situation. But to say, oh, you're going to sell all your fleet and buy a whole new fleet. I'm a small businessman. I cannot afford to completely wipe out my fleet and buy an entirely new fleet. We buy trucks, but we buy them periodically when we need them and when we feel like we can upgrade. But just to go through and say, I'm going to sell them all off and buy all new, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And see, these are the things that really irritate me so much about the way all these new green deals and all this sort of stuff is coming down. It's terrible. But, that's my opinion on that. Yeah. Yeah. I get it with you, Chris. I mean, this is why everybody, I'm all for getting out. I live out by myself too. I'm about a mile off the road, the main road where I live. I'm on the backside of a family farm. I love it like that. Yeah, and these are the things that I like to, you know, I don't know. It really gets under my skin, like I said, about all this new stuff. And we as a people, we as the people in the United States need to stand up and say, no, we're not taking this new green crap because it is crap. It is a political thing that somebody wants to go, oh, isn't that great? Isn't she so smart? No, she's dumb as hell. She's dumb as hell, in my opinion. Go back and listen to that AOC little girl. She is dumb as hell. I mean, she cannot add two and two and get six. I mean, she's terrible. And so, her and all these other politicians that want to push things down our throat, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of all politicians saying, you're going to have to do this. I mean, look, they talk about, they try to say, oh, the sea level's rising. Let me explain to some of the people that are not as old as me. Look at how much has been built out on our seas, on our oceans. And they're talking about all the damage and everything you see from all that. We have overbuilt onto lakes and oceans. You go out and you see 30, 40, 50 years ago, I mean, I would go down to Myrtle Beach or whatever. There would be some cottages down there, but they weren't built way up onto the ocean like they are now. I mean, we're building on the edge of a disaster. And then when the disaster comes, then we blame it on the weather. And that's stupid. The weather is going to be the weather. We are not going to control weather. Never have, never will. And these people that are complaining about what the weather has done to them, they ought to go back and reassess what they have done to the environment themselves. You can't, if I built on the edge of the emergency ramp on the interstate, and then I complain because a car ran into my house, then I'm the stupid person. And that's what we're doing. We're building on the edges of lakes, the edges of rivers, the edges of oceans. And then when there's a flood or anything and all this house gets washed away and this gets washed, then we go, oh, wow, that was terrible. That is what is really, that's what really bothers you when you look at those kind of situations. And it evolves into what we're doing ourselves as far as my trucking business and everything and my parts business. I mean, I'm glad to be in both of those businesses because they provide, good income for people. They have a necessary, I'm giving a necessary product to the people. We're delivering things. And, transportation, if we strangle transportation down to nothing, then this economy will go to nothing. Transportation is one of the most vital industries right now in the United States. I mean, if you were to put a stranglehold on transportation, the economy would go down. And I guess that's one reason that I'm so adamant about what's going on with this and why and why I just get aggravated with it. You watched. Yeah. Well, and like I said, I remember you talking about mowing and everything. I remember here in the South, when I was young, a lot of people, and I think even my grandmother was this way. I remember my grandmother having a dirt yard. They didn't have a grass yard. They had a dirt yard. We would go to, and they lived on a dirt road. My grandmother and granddad lived on a dirt road. We'd go down there and they'd have a nice, neat dirt yard. It would be white clean. The house was up on it wasn't underpinned. There's another thing. They have discovered that, how the people changed their environment. Granddad's house wasn't underpinned and the chickens ran underneath the house. Well, the chickens could kind of help clean up stuff. Of course, they make a little bit of mess too. But you didn't have those older houses. One thing they didn't have was termites. And the reason they didn't have termites is because they weren't built all the way down to the foundation, down to the bottom. I mean, it was aired out good in there. There was not a wet foundation underneath the house because it was open. Air could go in and out of it. And then everybody started building basements, and the foundation's all the way to the ground, and then you got to have the footing. It's crazy. I mean, I look back at Granddad's house. I mean, of course, it's gone now, but think back about it. Not look back at it, and think about it. It was on a rock foundation. I mean, whereas they went out and they got big, heavy rocks in the field, brought them back out, put them out there, and built up the timber and everything, and then built the house on top of that. That's the way houses used to be built. They weren't put together with these huge foundations, underpinning, and everything else. Because what we do sometimes, we actually defeat the purpose by building the way we're building. And if they would go back and take that, maybe mix some of the current technology with some of the old technology, and think, why is it that they didn't have termite problems back then? Because termites need moisture to live. And if you don't have the moisture, you won't have the termite. So yeah. And yeah, that's it, Chris. I mean, yeah. And that's, like I said, it's funny how things have evolved. But getting back to that, we're talking about everything greening up. We're actually the yeah, that's again, Chris, the way some of them are building things, and you really, and I got into this situation. I bought, like a lot of I bought an older building and remodeled it because it was way cheaper for me to do that, to circumvent some of the code, as opposed to buy. I had the land and I was going to build a building, and it would have been nice to have the building where I've got it, where I was wanting it, but it was going to cost me twice as much to get half as much in building, well, probably a third as much. I've got a pretty good sized building now. I bought an older Ford dealership and I've remodeled it, and I've got probably, I'm going to say, close to 8,000 square feet, and I was only going to build a building that was going to house probably 3,000 square feet. And that building, by going with all the new codes and everything else, was going to cost me to meet the codes, build what I had to build out as far as, handicap and paving and plumbing and everything, was going to cost me close to $750,000. And I couldn't justify it. I would never, ever be able to get my money back out of it. The store would have to do tremendously better. So instead, I was able to buy an older Ford dealership, and I got 8 acres of land with it, and a huge building, a nice building. We have remodeled. I've spent some money on remodeling it, but I've been able to do that and be within code. Everything's compliant. Everything looks good. And the store, I've gotten tons of compliments from the city and the county and other people talking about how nice it looks and how much I improved the area. It's because I took a building that was actually going downhill a little bit. It was blighted in a little bit because it had not been kept up since the Ford dealership closed about 20 something years ago. It's just been rented out for various businesses and everything, and nobody kept it up. It was just rented. So they didn't have an owner that wanted to improve on it. The owner that owned it, was maintaining the rent and doing whatever patches or whatever they had to do. But, we were able to do this and save a lot of money. And I've got a huge paved parking lot and, lots of area to expand with and everything else. So it's kind of good that I got kicked in the teeth a little bit by the over cost of the new building. And I did my research and found me a good older building, which it just sort of luck, I guess. I was happy. Of course, it was luck, and I did research too, so it wasn't all luck. But that's what you got to do in life. You got to be able to jump in there and yeah, it was a. Although I will tell you this, guys, I got my tax bill yesterday. Uh, my I did all these improvements. So what do you think happened to me on my taxes? My tax on that property doubled. I mean, not didn't go up 20%, 30%. That's what a lot of people in the county have complained about. Their property tax went up 20%, whatever. My property tax completely doubled on that property that I bought, put a lot of money into, and improved. And my improvements of cleaning it up, making it look good, now I've got to pay twice as much tax on it than I did the previous year. So you get kicked in the butt when it comes to government. You can get it both ways. So you damned if you do and damned if you don't, I guess you might say. So it is what it is. But that's what we get into. That's what we get into sometimes. So I hope people kind of get the idea of what you know. No, I didn't have it reappraised. They reappraised it, Chris. I mean, of course, I mean I could get it reappraised if I wanted to borrow money against it or whatever. But the tax appraisal just came in. That was the tax a reappraisal of the taxes. I mean, they've gone around the entire county and they've done everybody's, but mine doubled. I mean, it didn't go up, 30% or 40%. It doubled. It went up 100%. I mean, it sort of flabbergasted me. I can tell you that. But I can protest it if I want to, but I don't know if I'll do any good on it or not. Yeah, yeah, they got past my no trespassing sign real quick. The county they don't look at that no trespassing. They go. I I went to an assessment one other time, and the county pulled up pictures and everything, and I go, "When did you walk across my property here?" They don't care. The assessors, they will get. They'll walk. You know, I guess they're not scared of shotguns, and I didn't have one out anyway that day. But that's what you get involved with. The people that are going to do the appraisals, they'll walk all over your property when you're not around and don't care. And they'll jump in the car and leave. Yep. I'm trying to catch up on my reading there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the value of it, I guess then, like what you're saying, Ponca, that if I wanted to go borrow money against my property, I could probably show that to a bank and then, borrow more money, which in essence, if the appraisal were to come in, then the equity, I would gain equity, but I'm going to be paying more tax in the process. So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, if you want your property to be, I didn't even have to have it reappraised. The county did it for me. And they're saying it's worth a whole bunch more, which it is, in my opinion, it is, because I went in there and I spent $100,000 on it, and I went in there and redid the roof. We did put all new doors on it. We put all new. We redid the showroom completely, inside and out. We did $100,000 worth of improvements, but they went up $200,000 on my taxes. I mean, the tax appraisal on that property, it's way over $500,000 now. So, I mean, close to 600, I think. What was the tax appraisal on the building, Dina? You remember?
$489.
Okay, all right. Well, like I said, $500,000 on it. But yeah, yeah. I guess your place is more intimidating. I don't have. In your place, I'd have to call ahead if I had to come see you, wouldn't I, Chris? If I had to get if I'm going through your area, next year when I'm going out to Las Vegas, if I go over there to see you, I better call way ahead and make sure that you got all the call off the dogs and the armed guards and everybody else so I can get into the driveway. But you know, that happens. That happens. Well, guys, I'm gonna call it a morning because I have actually got to get my radio show ready again. I've got my weekly radio show that I'm doing at the local radio station. I'm gonna you're a bit extreme, I bet. So I'm gonna put my address on here of where I'm at. Again, in case y'all guys want to tune in worldwide. Well, I shouldn't do it in all caps. I'm about to do it in all caps. There is an address, ktcbroadcasting.com, that if you're interested in my show, I've got a weekly show that I'm doing. I'm playing hits from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that I'm doing each week. So if you're interested, there's the address. Tune in worldwide, and you can get that online and listen to that between 10 and 12 Eastern Daylight Saving, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And if you're interested in listening to that. No, it's not Tuesday night. That's Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning. Let me type that in. 10 to 12 a.m. So if y'all are interested, jump in there and listen to my show. If you like listening to me, I don't know. You may or may not. I don't know. But we're going to be broadcasting like I said, every week. We broadcast. We play the old tunes, and I try to play some tunes that people haven't heard in a while. That were good hits. I mean, I'm playing hits. I'm not playing some off the wall flip side of something. I mean, they were hits in their right. They charted. I'm not putting uncharted songs on there. But there's a lot of songs that people don't hear as much. And you go, oh yeah, I remember that. I was out cruising around with my girlfriend or whatever. So that's what it's all about. So you can listen to Cruising the Carolinas with Mike. That's the name of the show. So if you want to hear Cruising the Carolinas with Mike, and it's on WLON AM and FM, or WOHS AM and FM. It's on 2 radio stations at the same time. They simulcast them, and they're on there at the same time. So it's broadcast live in our area, and then it's on the World Wide Web also live at that time too. So if you want to listen to me, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. If you like my music, fine. And I'll be talking about that. And I don't over talk the show. It's a lot of music. Hopefully you'll like the music, and I'll chit chat and put a little trivia in there and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and commercials from my Napa store. Of course, you'll hear that. And so that's what we're doing. So if you'd like to tune in, it's relaxing, 2 hours, nothing great big, but they started up about 10:05 because he's got the news at the top of the hour. So it's about 10:05, 10:06 when it actually kicks in the program. But listen to it if you can, and we'll chat with y'all later. I'm gonna get off of here because I gotta be a DJ. I gotta go cruising in the Carolinas with Mike. Hi, this is Mike Jones, and that's where you'll hear me come off with it. It'll sound just like that. And, I had to revert back to my old DJ days from way back. So tune in, listen to me, and maybe you'll enjoy it. See if you like those old tunes. And I'll catch y'all guys later.